It's time again for the Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.
Hi, I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And we're the Insiders. Well, Chuck, last month, when everyone was getting their Christmas cards in that pile of mail, there was one envelope that was sort of a stinker. It was your property tax bill. And people all over Wisconsin were opening them up and were surprised by how much property taxes are going up. How is that issue going to play out in the legislature and the elections this year?
Well, I expect that the Republicans will try to do something with it this spring. But the problem they're going to have is everyone knows that they've been in charge legislatively for 20 years. And so they're going to say, well, what is this? And I think Democrats are going to have to boldly go out there on legislative and gubernatorial election and talk about a major property tax reduction. And I'm not talking about a freeze. I'm talking about a reduction. It has become definitely the big thing. Charles Franklin always talks about it in his poll. And he contrasts whether people would rather have more support for their K-12 public education, or would they rather have property tax relief? And what he's pointed out over the last couple of years, it's really shifted now over to the property tax relief side. So I think both parties will try to grab the standard on this and move forward. I think it's going to be very hard for Republicans to do this because they've been around for 20 years. They could have addressed this in this last budget. Now they're trying to say, oh, it was a bipartisan budget. It never is a bipartisan budget. It's always exactly what Robin Bush jams down the throat of everybody else. So I think they're going to have a really hard time. But I'll tell you what, I think there are some local elected people who may face some blowback from this as well. And we don't talk as much oftentimes about local stuff, but I do think you're going to get some local blowback here as to people. Why were they not more informed? Why did they not know more? And why are these increases so big?
Well, you've chosen a 20-year period to take a look back. I'm happy to join you in that. I believe that for much of that period, we had Republican control of the legislature and a Republican governor. And during that time, property taxes went down and then were held steady for a long period. It is under Governor Evers' leadership that property taxes have started to climb back again. Most recently, it's because the governor's 400-year veto that said we're going to automatically increase school spending, even though he didn't provide a way at the same time to pay for it. So we've got this automatic increase in school spending. And even though the governor praised the budget that he worked with the Republicans on, that he called a bipartisan pro-kids budget, with the highest level of school aid in the state's history and a record increase in special education, it wasn't enough to meet the promise that the governor made. And it seems to me that Democrats are out there on the wrong side of this, and that they keep asking for more spending. And the public is finally saying, no, we need to lower property taxes. You saw it. They did the same thing with the local government aids in the previous budget, where we gave out all that shared revenue, record increase in shared revenue. Did the local governments use it to lower property taxes as they promised? No, they used it for spending. So spending keeps going up. That's going to be the issue again. Folks are concerned about the spending because it's driving property taxes up.
I'll tell you, Scott is so good at spinning this stuff, and it just isn't true. The reality is here that what happened is local governments, especially school districts, were starved for so many years. They finally started passing referenda. And the local electorate said, yes, we do want to spend more on education. The problem is the Republicans will never let the state fund any additional fund. They did not put a dime toward general education to increase for that $300 and some per pupil that Governor Evers makes sure that local governments can spend. So what's happened is that we've gotten the worst of both worlds. We have a situation where property taxes are high and adequate funding for education is not there. Let me give you just one example. We used to be 11th in the country in terms of funding K through 12 education. We are now 26th and going down. Scott is talking about increases that were minuscule in comparison to what the needs are for school districts and what inflation is out there. The record increase in special education funding will not even get to the 47% they claimed that it would get to. And it's way off of the 90% which school districts were asking for. Should we really ask property taxpayers to pay for the education of special needs children It's ridiculous. And by the way, I think the electorate is finally ready to catch up with this. And a Democrat with the right message in the governor's race and the Democrats having the right message in the legislature, by the way, the vast majority of whom did not vote for this budget are going to have the day. This is going to be a great Democratic year in November. And in some cases, for very good reasons, like making sure that public education is funded at the same time your property taxes are reduced. And the gubernatorial candidate with that message is going to be the winner.
Well, obviously, affordability is the top issue coming up in the elections, and I'll be fascinated to see how the Democrats say what we need is bigger government spending more money, and that will make your life more affordable. For most people, they'll look at that and go, that doesn't normally work out that way. We'll see.
We'll see you at the election, guys.
You've been listening to The Insider with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.